All right, let's talk about cholesterol. If you think you know all the rules for keeping it in check, you might want to stick around because pretty much everything has just been updated.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. For years, you've probably heard that you need to watch your cholesterol numbers like a hawk. But what if I told you that's not really the main point anymore? We're going to break down the brand new 2023 Peer Lipid Guidelines, and trust me, they are changing the whole conversation around heart health.
So, where do we even begin with this new approach? Well, let's start with the absolute basics, the first line of defense. These are the foundational recommendations that everything else is built on.
And here it is, the number one point. Nothing has changed here. Statins are still the king. Whether you're trying to prevent a first heart attack or stop a second one from happening, the evidence is just overwhelming. They are the proven go-to choice for lowering your risk.
But you know, it's not just about medication. And this quote shows just how powerful your daily habits are. The guidelines don't just say, eat healthy. No, they get specific. They call out the Mediterranean diet because the science shows it can slash the risk of future heart problems by a massive 25 to 30%. What I love about this is how simple it is. Forget complicated plans. The core lifestyle advice really just boils down to these two things. Move your body regularly and eat in that Mediterranean style. That's the combo that works. Okay, now for what is maybe the single biggest change in these new guidelines. This is a complete shift in thinking, and it's a really big deal for how you and your doctor should be talking about cholesterol. Just let that sink in for a second. This one quote is a total game changer. That whole era of obsessively chasing a specific LDL cholesterol number, what doctors call the treat-to-target strategy, well, according to these guidelines, it's over.
And this really lays out that core change perfectly. The focus has totally shifted away from hitting some arbitrary number on a lab report. The new, simpler, and much more evidence-based question is this: are you on the right proven medicine, like a statin, at the right dose for your personal risk level? That's what matters now.
So why this huge shift? Honestly, it's just practical. I mean, if you've ever had to get frequent blood tests, you know it's a hassle, and it costs money. On top of that, your lab results can bounce around by 10 or even 20% from test to test. So trying to chase a moving target just doesn't make a lot of sense when there's a simpler and just as effective way to do things.
Okay, but what happens if statins just aren't quite enough? For some people at very high risk, the new guidelines lay out a super clear and logical plan for what to add on next.
Now, this is a really important distinction to make. These add-on therapies we're about to talk about, they're really meant for people in what's called secondary prevention. That just means they've already had a heart attack or a stroke. For most people just trying to prevent a first event, statins are the whole story. So for these high-risk patients, the playbook is very specific. It's a clear, step-by-step process. First up, you maximize the statin dose to get the most benefit. If you still need more, step 2 is adding another drug, like ezetimibe or one of those powerful injectables called PCSK9 inhibitors. And only then, after those first 2 steps, do you even think about the third option. And there's a very good reason for that specific order. It all comes down to balancing the benefits with the risks. So while a drug called icosapent does show some benefits, it also carries a higher risk of things like atrial fibrillation and bleeding. So the guidelines basically say, let's try the other, safer options first. Makes sense, right? All right, let's tackle a huge one. What if you're one of the many people who tried a statin and had side effects, like those famous muscle aches? Does that mean statins are off the table for you forever? Absolutely not.
This is pulled directly from the new guideline, and it's such an important and reassuring message. If you had a side effect that wasn't severe, the official advice is to actually try again. A single bad experience does not mean you have to give up on all the life-saving benefits of these drugs.
And the great thing is you have real, concrete options to talk about with your doctor. You could try a lower dose of the same drug, or you could switch to a totally different statin. You can even try taking it every other day. See? There are multiple ways to find a plan that works for you.
So what is the actual risk of getting muscle symptoms because of a statin? Well, get this. In the big studies, about 15% of people taking a statin reported muscle aches. But so did 14% of people taking a placebo, a sugar pill. That means the real risk, the part actually caused by the drug itself, is only about 1%.
Phew, okay. We have covered a ton of ground, so let's boil this all down into the most important things you need to remember. These are the new rules for your heart health.
First, and this is the big one,
Statins are and remain the absolute, undisputed cornerstone of therapy for preventing heart disease. Period.
Second, remember that the medicine works best when you pair it with the lifestyle choices that we know work, adopting that Mediterranean way of eating and making sure you stay physically active.
Third, and this is that huge mindset shift, stop worrying about hitting a specific LDL number. The real focus now is on being on the right, proven therapy at the right intensity for you.
And fourth, and this one is so empowering for patients, if you have a problem with a statin, don't just give up. Talk to your doctor. There are so many other options to try to find a solution that works for you. And all of this leaves us with one final, really important thought. Now that you know all this, you can have a much better, more informed conversation with your doctor. Is your current plan based on these new, simplified, evidence-based rules? That's a question definitely worth asking.